Okay, this is the daily money making setups for the S&P Emini 500 using the 1500 tick bar chart from Friday, May 11th, and this is Monday, May 14th. We're going to be using process trading right edge trading system. I'm going to be showing you two types of trades today. As always, in the process trading right edge trading system, you can use the trend trading system, which is above the three discretionary indicators. It's up here. It uses the process trading VWAP as well as the timing alerts and the price bars. Below that, we have the three discretionary indicators. The discretionary indicators should bring some confirmation to the trend trading system when you take a trend trade. The reverse is, of course, not true. You can take discretionary trades when you understand how to read the discretionary indicators below here. So Friday the 11th wasn't a particularly strong trending day, and so that made it very challenging to take the trend trading system, and we will see here what the trend trading system produced on that day. Right, since we have the VWAP is yellow and we have green indications within it, we can take any timing alert dot that is below the price bars and we can trade it to the long side. This timing alert dot right here is the first one available. So we take that timing alert dot by looking at the high of the bar associated with it and placing our order entry 2 points above that bar, and that would be right at this horizontal line right here. That's when we would get in. After we take that trade, it's going to be successful as we go up here for 2.5 points. As we set our order entry, if we look down, we would see that the discretionary indicators confirmed our decision to go long. Here we have the Intergy indicator, which stands for internal energy, and essentially it's a proxy for volume, but it allows you to read much more than just the volume bar. It tells you when energy is coming into price, when demand is coming in. That is these green bars, and it tells you when demand is getting weak, and that it would be the gray bars, and then it tells you when supply is coming in. That would be the red bars in the histogram. Here we see we had one red bar, then the energy also had a yellow underscore here, which is again a sign of positive strength to demand, and we had a green histogram bar, which shows that demand is coming in to the positive side. If we look below the Intergy indicator, we see the sentiment oscillator. Now this is a unique oscillator in that it has a tricolored momentum bar. For essentially, it traditionally you would look at the red as being oversold and the green, overbought, and the green is being oversold, and the white is in between. Well, when this momentum line crosses the sentiment line, which is the yellow dashed line, that is a sure indication of price is going to go in that direction. And so we see right here, we see that cross to the upside, as well as we see sentiment starting to slope up. And it is right at that point there that price does start to show demand and ascend. So then we look also to the short-term trend oscillator, which has a unique feature, which is the pullback line in the middle. Generally, price can come to this line, and if it's going to continue in whatever trending direction it was was going in, it will hit this pullback line, which would be where the pullback would stop, and then it would continue, just like it did here. So the placement and the slope here is actually more important than the color. Now, the color, green stands for the uptrend, the red stands for a short-term downtrend, but you can see it, price hit the short-term trend line, hit the pullback line, and then began to slope up. So it did what it's supposed to do. It hit the pullback line. That was the end of the pullback, and now it starts to slope up. So that's significant. So again, we have complete agreement in the three indicators. We place our trade here using the trade management technique that was outlined, and it ascends, and we capture 2.5 points there. Now, as we move along in the chart, since the VWAP was yellow, and we can take any trade with the timing alert dots that are below the price bars, these two dots would be available. However, because of the trade management techniques of where you should place your order entry, we can see that this order entry right here would have been placed at this bar, and this order entry right here would have been placed at this bar, and you never get in those trades. That is part of the process trading right edge system that has you buying into strength. At the same time, if it doesn't show strength, it's going to keep you out of the trade. Furthermore, when we look at these two timing alert dots here, with the VWAP being yellow so that they would be actionable trades, as we look down, if we use our discretionary indicators for a type of confirmation, we see that the sentiment line is sloping down now, and the momentum line had crossed through it way up over here, way before those dots. And with that sentiment line sloping down, you would be very hesitant to go against it. Matter of fact, you would say you would not take the trade, you would not go against it, but the trade management technique itself kept you on the safe side and kept you out of it. And again, the short-term trend oscillator hit the pullback line, and it's just bouncing along there. So that is why these two dots would not have affected your trading. Now, right here, we see we have the Intergy indicator, and these yellow dots are trending dots, and it doesn't tell you specifically which way the trend is going to go. You have to do some further analysis with that. And as we look down at this trend, even though it's in the red for the Intergy, so you expect it would be a trend to the downside, the supply is weakening as we can see it because the bars are getting shorter. But if we look straight down, we see what we were just talking about. We see that the sentiment is sloping down, and here it's crossing through the midline. So it's getting even weaker. And we know that the natural occurrence of the sentiment oscillator is to go from high to low. And so here we're not going to trade against that. And so we see this trend is more likely to the downside, and in fact here it was to the downside, and the short-term trend oscillator also agrees to that. That's much different than this trending alert dot here, which even though it's in the Intergy, okay, and indeed it is showing signs that the Intergy, the supply side, is showing some weakness because we had a gray bar come in right here, and the histograms itself is shortening. We still look to the other indicators for some more reasoning to help with our validation. So as we mentioned, the nature of the cinnamon oscillator is to go from high to low, and here we have the cinnamon at the lower bound with the momentum line coming down, going up through the lower bound and crossing the cinnamon line going up. So that's a strong indication, along with the lessening of supply. For the trend here it's talking about would be to the upside, and here in fact we do see that short trend to the upside that this was talking about. So now the VWAP, as far as taking trend trades, the VWAP was gray with the red indications here. So we can take a trade to the short side with any timing alert dot that is above the price bars. So we can trade this dot here. And when we do that, of course, we're going to place our trade 2 points below the low of that, and that gets us in right at this line right here. In this trade, you can confirm it with the other indicators as we just did, and it was good for 1 point. Now, had you kept into it and not gotten out here, which most likely you would get out here, but had you not and you continued with it here, it would be good for more like 5 points. The next timing alert dot that you were able to take because of the trending system is right here. And again, you're going to apply the same trade management technique, and it gets you in down here, and this again is good for 1 point, and it's confirmed with a likewise analysis of the discretionary indicators. So you can see that's not a huge day with 2.5, 4.5 points possible. But there was another trade available that showed itself relatively quickly during the trading day. And that was a discretionary trade, and that's what we want to go over right now, how to spot that and how to take advantage of that. So here's the better trade of the day. It's the discretionary trade that we were talking about, and we'll see how did we find it. Well, the way that we found this trade is we added these bands to the price bars. These are the contrarian bands or contrabands. And the way that they work is that when the price exceeds the band, then you can take a timing alert dot to, if it's above the bands, you can take it to the downside, and if it were below the bands, you'd take it to the upside. And so we see price exceeding the bands right here. We get a timing alert dot right here. And so we know that we can take a trade to the downside. The way that you take that trade when you're using the contrabands is you take it immediately, as soon as you can, when you get the timing alert dot, and you set your stop at the high of that bar. It's a very tight stop, so it's a minimal risk with a large reward. And let's see what happened here. So we are allowed to take this discretionary trade to the short side right here. We look to our discretionary indicators. We see that right at this point, demand was slackening because it was the green was receding, and then it got weak here with the gray bars. We also see the classic indicator here with the the cinnamon oscillator, where momentum is cutting through down through the top of it and is cutting through the cinnamon line heading to the bottom. We also see the short-term trend angling down and sloping away from the upper bound. So we have strong indications here that confirm our trade, and we take that trade, and we actually, if you remember from the prior discussion here, this was a trending line that was confirmed to the downside because of the slope of the sentiment line. So we can take this trade, and we were taking it to the short side. We could get out right here if we wanted to. But since we got this trending dot, if we stayed in it, we would go down to here before we would get out, because remember we had the reverse read on this trending dot. So if you took it down to here, you would have made 7 points. And if you took it down to here, you would have made about 12 points. So that was the discretionary trade setup that was available using the process trading right edge trading system. So if you want to see more of these setups each day, just subscribe and they'll come to you. And if you're interested in learning the process trading right edge trading system, then you can find that on processtrading.com, and there's more videos, plus the daily setups are always over there. Until the next video, I hope all your trading goes well, and we'll see you then.